Hello, this is the second video for our week 5 lecture for the chapter of consumer choice theory, and this will be the last one for that chapter. Did you guys see the announcement page? I posted up two separate important announcements. The first one is the survey for the types of the remaining lectures of this semester, assuming our university headquarters will announce the going back to the normal stage of the lecture. I mean, the face-to-face lecture type in the classroom will be allowed. This is just assumption. I don't know. I have no further information about the decision making by the university at this point, but we have to be prepared for the possibility. So that's the reason why I post that survey. And at this time, so the survey period is just all week, so you can throw out your opinion until the next Monday. But now I think 1/3 of the total students already voted for one of two options, and only 35% of the students answered positive on going back to the normal stage of the lecture. And still, about 65% of the students prefer to stay away each other and having the lecture remotely like this. So I'm going to wait until the end of the survey, and I will see the final result of survey, and I will definitely follow your opinion. So if you haven't done the survey, please do that until the next Monday. The second announcement was the date and the information about the midterm. So this is first time for me to try really weird way of taking exam. So it's going to be awful in many ways, but I've thought that will be the best way for all of us. There will be a lot of burden on me because now we cannot have multiple choice type questions. So I have to grade every answers in your paper, and we have exactly 100 number of students. So I'm going to die when I finish the grading on your midterm. But except that, I think this type of midterm will be the best one for each of you. This is open book test, so you can use anything you want. Even you can discuss with your friends. I cannot detect that activity, so you can ask somebody who does not take this class but who has pretty better knowledge about the microeconomics. Then you can ask them to find the answer, and I assume that possibility. So I'm making questions that is totally a new thing. I mean, you will not find out the similar question from any of materials. That's what I'm trying to do. So the questions will be pretty difficult, pretty hard. You can solve or you cannot solve. And there will be several questions that are pretty much solvable. So, I don't know what the grading standard will be changed, decided by the HQ, the headquarters. I heard some stories going on, circulating around the school that the portion of A will be increased, or even the grading system will be transformed to an absolute grading system just only in this semester. But there's nothing confirmed at this point. So yeah, if you cannot solve any question, then you're gonna definitely get F or D. If you're pretty doing good, then you're gonna get A pretty easily. So it depends on your own ability to think economics in some mathematical ways or some abstract ways. If we are not familiar with that types of way of thinking, then you should do more practice. I will definitely post up more practice problems for you, but you should definitely find out more information or more materials by yourself. Um, I was pretty surprised when I personally came here, the Chungnam National University, and saw the students. One of the most surprising part of the students to me was they are waiting. They just wait for a professor giving them or feeding them some lecture note or some information or even some programs. They are not actively finding out the more information is available in the library or in the internet or in the other resources. They are pretty much, I think, not active. They are just waiting and see type. I think so. Don't be upset, but I would say about more than 70% of students who took my classes before, I was pretty surprised with their behaviors, like a high school student. It is a little bit of disappointment, but I totally understand what the circumstances or environment you have lived for the last few years, because our nations has been pretty much difficult economically, and it's really hard to find a job after graduation. So you have to prepare for the job market with the higher English test score or some more internships. So you don't have much time on your major study. So I totally understand that. But in this time, things are pretty much different. I mean, you have more time because you don't have to commute to school. And I think most of your part-time job will be closed. So you have much time to do for your major study. So, and still internet is connected because internet is not affected by the coronavirus. So you can still use the internet to navigate more information about the microeconomic theory. And I believe there are really good resources for your study, independent study. And I really encourage it to be well prepared for the midterm. And I will definitely give you more example of some expected midterm questions with more examples if I have enough time. Right, so last time we studied about the two important concepts of consumer choice theory out of three. The first one was marginal rate of substitution between goods from your indifference curve. The second one was your marginal utility from the utility function. So indifference curves and the utility functions are totally different concepts, but they are strongly connected each other in one broader concept. So marginal utility is the small change of utility function. So we can measure the marginal utility as the slope of the utility function. So graphically, the above picture is the graphical representation of the utility function. So be careful about the horizontal and the vertical axis because the horizontal and vertical axis are different from your indifference curve. Indifference curve, the two axes will represent for the units of the two goods you want to choose, right? The x-axis will be the unit of pizza, but the vertical axis or y-axis will be the unit of the burritos in indifference curve map. But in the map of the utility function, totally different. In the vertical axis, represent for the amount of utility you will get from consuming the number of pizzas. So the horizontal axis are the same, the unit or the number of pizzas per semester you want to consume, but on the vertical axis are totally different. So the bottom line is that you cannot draw out indifference curve and the utility function on one picture. Okay, because they are on the different dimension. Anyway, from the 4 units of pizza to the 5 units of pizza, so you increase the number of pizza by 1 unit. Then you can measure how much happiness or how much satisfaction you're gonna get from that small increase of your consumption for the pizza. How much? From 230 to 250, right? So the 20 units or 20 something like happiness will be the additional or the marginal utility you're gonna get from additional one more consumption for the pizza from 4th to the 5th units of pizza. But the important theory from microeconomics is your marginal utility will be diminishing, which means that your total utility will be increased as you increase the number of consumption indefinitely. So on the above line, your utility function is increasing function. But as you increase the more consumption for the pizza, your marginal utility will be decreasing. That's really important and very famous theory from the microeconomic theory. So let us see the bottom picture. From 4th unit of pizza to the 5th unit of pizza, your marginal utility is decreasing, which means that you are still happy with eating more pizza, but your marginal happiness will be diminishing because you are already full. You are already eating too many pizzas. So additional one more pizza will give you just more increase in the happiness. So your marginal utility for additional pizza, additional 5th round of pizza will be very little happiness increment. Okay? So let's connect your MRS with the marginal utility. Let's remind the definition of marginal rate of substitution. Let's see. Where is the definition? Definition here. Equation number 1. Marginal rate of substitution of burrito for pizza. What's the definition? By words. So you should define MRS in words first, and after that, you can define it with more mathematical term. That's a step of practice. Okay? So marginal rate of substitution of burrito for pizza means that how many burritos you want to sacrifice by increasing one more pizza consumed. So you want more pizza, then you have to trade off the number of burritos, right? So that's the definition of MRS. And the marginal utility of pizza is the increasing amount of utility, marginal increasing amount of utility by increasing one more increasing in the pizza. So the denominator, the change of pizza is the common part between the equation 1 and the equation 4. So we can use that connection. So you can also have marginal utility of burrito, which will be defined by change of utility over the change of burrito. So the delta U over delta B will be the definition of the MUB, right? So you can combine those two things and remove the delta U part, which will be cancelled out each other from numerator part and the denominator part. And there will be negative sign because there is trade-off between consuming burrito and pizza. So the MRS will be equal to a negative marginal utility of pizza over marginal utility of the burritos. Economically, you can interpret this equation because this is a really important equation in economics, which is called the Euler equation, but you don't have to remember the name of that. So MRS means the trade-off relationship. There will be some cost, right? To increase the consumption of pizza, then you're gonna have to pay for some burritos. That's the cost, and that's the marginal cost part. So the MRS means the marginal cost for increasing one more pizza. But right hand side, negative marginal utility of pizza over marginal utility over burritos is the marginal utility for increasing one more unit of pizza in terms of utilities of the burritos, right? So the right hand side, negative MUG over MUB is the marginal utility for consuming one more pizza. So equation number 5 means economically your marginal cost for increasing one more unit of pizza will be equal to a marginal revenue part or marginal revenue part of your increasing one more unit of pizza in terms of the burritos. In equilibrium, you should keep remember these things for the later part of this lecture. So the last one for this chapter, which will be really important, is called the budget constraint. So the previous two things are all about your happiness, all about your consumption choice. So if there is no limitation, what is a lesson we can get from the previous two concepts? The lesson we can get is that more is better, right? You can keep consuming, then your utility will be indefinitely increasing. So the more consumption is always better. The answer is what is your optimal consumption budget between the burrito and pizza if there is no limitation? The answer is indefinite, right? You can consume both goods indefinitely because you have no limitation. And we know the utility function is increasing indefinitely. The answer is simple, but the reality is not that simple because we have a limitation on our income, right? So this budget constraint represents what's going on your limited income to be spent on your consumption. So we can remind the opportunity set. Opportunity set is kinds of bundles of goods or services you're going to consume that is inside your budget constraint. And your budget constraint is all the possible budget with your income to be consumed. So let's draw out that concept in mathematical way. Still, we are living in the pizza and burrito world. I'm pretty much sick of that example at this point. So I'm gonna have to change some names of food or some names of market. Anyway, so your income is fixed with the Y. Y is your income. So it could be 100만 원 or it could be $1,000, all kinds of monetary units. So you can have the amount of Y to spend the number of pizza or number of burrito. And we are given the market prices of burrito and pizza. So small p of b is the price for burrito and the small p of g is the market price per pizza. We cannot control for it because we are given the market prices. So your income Y and the price for burrito and pizza are just constant term. It cannot be changed unless we assume further. The only independent variables are the number of burritos and number of pizza. We can control for it because we know the bundle of burrito and pizza we can consume within our income and the market prices. So the left-hand side of equation 6 is the total cost for consuming burrito and pizza. Total cost for consuming burrito is the number of burrito you want to consume times the price of burrito per 1 unit, right? That's total cost for consuming burrito. So PB times B is the total cost for buying a burrito I want. Also, PG times G is the total cost for consuming pizza. So summing those two things will be the total cost for consuming burrito and pizza. So left hand side is the total cost. And the right hand side, Y, is income. So it is kind of total budget you can consume. So the left hand side cannot be over the right hand side. The right hand side should be always larger than the left hand side because you cannot consume more than your income. But if you are a logical person or if you are a rational person, you should equalize left hand side and the right hand side. Because if the income is larger than your total cost, then you have some left money, and your left money in your pocket does not give you any happiness. Because money is just fiat money, it's just paper. Having money does not give you any happiness. You should do something with that money for your happiness. So if you are a rational person, then left hand side and the right hand side should be equal in equilibrium. Okay? Let's make it simple because I think you are familiar with some function from your high school mathematics. So we're going to transform equation 6 into a function of Brittle. So dependent variable is the number of Brittle, and the independent variable will be the number of pizza. And the remaining all of the things are just constant term. It is easy, just calculation, so you can do by yourself. So equation 6 will be transformed to equation 9. Equation 9 means that the number of Brittle will be determined by some intercept. Intercept means 절편. And this intercept, in this case, is y over pb. And negative pg over pb, which will be a slope of this curve. And you know, if you are a smart guy, then you could notice that the equation number 9 will be a linear function, the straight line. So the bottom line is that your budget constraint will be always linear. Your budget constraint will be always given as the straight line. But your indifference curves or your utility function will be usually a curve. So straight line and concave curves will meet only one point, right? Where will be the equilibrium point. That's the result of this chapter. Okay? Very easy. Clear, everything. And equation number 10 has a typo. This is not b plus. This is b equal to y over pb, I think. Right? Yes. So equation number 10 has a typo. This is not plus, but it will be the equalized sign. So let's make an example with some given number. The price per pizza is $1 and price per burrito is $2. I think this is unrealistic. Why pizza is cheaper than burrito? I can understand that. Usually pizza, one whole round of pizza for family size is 3만원 or 4만원. And the burrito, just one burrito will be just 5,000원 or 8,000원. So I think this example is totally wrong and realistic. But anyway, we follow that information for fun. So, and your income is also fixed with the $50. Okay? So the number of burrito you're going to choose will be determined by a constant 25, negative 1 over 2 times unit of pizza per G, right? So the slope of this curve will be negative 1 over 2. So it is pretty much flat curves. So you have your own income, $50 of budget, and you can allocate this budget into the burritos and pizza, right? Given the market prices for burrito and pizza, right? So this example will give you the 4 possible bundle choice set. You can concentrate on only burrito because you have the $50 of budget, and since the market price for one burrito is $2, so you're gonna maximize your consumption of burrito until 25 units of burrito. Or you can equally allocate burrito and pizza, or if you can just consume all of the pizzas for 50 units and you consume the 0 units of burritos. It is possible. So A, B, C, D's are all the possible budget constraints. So this blue line is the budget constraint. It is straight line. And every single point inside the constraint, budget constraint, is called the opportunity set, which means that you can consume any point or any bundle, you can consume any bundle of the burrito and pizza on that blue colored area. Okay? But we can say that any inside point for burrito and pizza bundle is not rational bundle, because you can increase any of burrito and pizza a little bit more until your bundle point will meet the outer line of the curve. So if you're a rational consumer, then you're gonna maximize your consumption bundle on any point along the curve, not inside the curve. If you are consuming any kinds of bundle inside the curve, which means that you have more chance to increase your utility or increase your happiness. So you are not perfectly rational consumer if you are consuming your bundle inside the opportunity set. You're gonna go to the frontier line for more consumption. Okay, so A, B, C, or D are the 4 examples in which you're gonna maximize your happiness. Okay, so let's do more about the budget constraint. The most important information from your budget constraint is the slope of the curve. The slope of the curve, let's interpret the slope of the curve. It is negative slope, right? Because budget constraint is always decreasing, which means that if you have specific number of budget, then you have to allocate your budget into the 2 parts in this 2-dimensional world, which means that you have already trade-off between the burrito and pizza. So the slope of the curve is always negative. And let's see the other part. This slope consists of 2 parts, the PG and the PB. The market price for pizza and the market price for burrito. And we already knew that those 2 information, we cannot control for it. We are just given with this information. So what is the economic meaning of this slope? It is the relative price of pizza in terms of burrito from the market. Not absolute price, but the relative price of those 2 goods. Great. And which is called the marginal rate of transformation. I don't know why it is called transformation. You should ask some older economist. But it is the relative market price of those 2 goods. Economically interpreting like that. So this is kind of example. The government intervention. Let's read together. A government ration water, setting a quota on how much a consumer can purchase. If a consumer can afford to buy the 12,000 gallons, the gallon means a kind of liters or kinds of kilograms or something. So it is measure of unit for the weight in the United States. It is much larger than the liter, I think. Maybe, I don't remember exactly, but the 1 gallon equals to maybe 2 or 3 liters. I don't know. Sorry about that. I'm very weak for the units. Anyway, 12,000 gallons seems pretty large, right? Pretty heavy. A month, but the government restricts purchases to no more than 10,000 gallons a month. How does the consumer's opportunity set change? So if there is no government intervention, the market or the consumer can consume in maximum the 12,000 gallons per month. But now a government sets a quota for consuming the water in maximum of 10,000 gallons. So there is some barrier which a consumer cannot consume more than 10,000 gallons, even though they can do that. So let's see the graph. There is specific quota not to consume more than 10,000 gallons. So without this quota intervention, a consumer would consume A and B. So A and B were the previous opportunity set for a consumer. But after quota, a consumer cannot consume a part of B. So their opportunity set will shrink from A plus B to A. That's the result of the quota intervention policy. So you can say that this quota policy can decrease the welfare of consumer. So it is bad policy in that perspective. But there might be other reason for government to do that. We don't know about it at this point with that limited information. But anyway, you can evaluate that government policy with that perspective if you want. All right. Budget constraint can be changed. There are two factors that can affect the shape of the budget constraint. First one, if the market price changes, then the slope of this curve will be changed, right? Assuming your income remain the same, which means that your intercept or the 절편, y절편, will not be changed if the price of burrito is not changed as well. If there is only change on the price of pizza from $1 to $2, then the slope of this curve will be changed from 1/2 to 1. It will be getting steeper, right? So because of the increase of price of pizza, the budget constraint will change their slope, which means that your opportunity set will shrink. How do you interpret that result? Interpretation is always important. Increasing market price is bad for consumer. So your opportunity set will be shrink. So you cannot choose any bundle set of burrito and pizza, which will be colored by a little bit of red, I don't know, a little bit of yellow, maybe tomato color. That part is the lowest part of your opportunity set. So increasing market price, assuming your income is the same, is bad for consumer because your opportunity set will be decreased. How about your income changes? Your income changes will affect your intercept while your slope of curve is unchanged. So the price of pizza and price of burritos are the same, $1 and $2. The only change is your income, which will be doubled up. So your intercept will be increased with unchanged slope. So your opportunity set will be expanded. So the green part is the newly created opportunity set. Now you can choose. So you have more chances to buy more burrito and more pizza. It is reasonable because since your income is increasing, so you can get more burrito and more pizza. By the definition of utility function, more burrito and more pizza will make your life better because the more is the better, right? That is one of our principles. So income increasing is good for consumer while market prices are not changing, right? There are two factors that can affect the shape of the budget constraint. So, this is the wrap up of this chapter. How do we define the market equilibrium in the perspective of the consumer choice, which will be defined by the consumer maximization? Consumer's utility will be maximized where your indifference curve will meet the budget constraint at one point. Because we assume our indifference curve will be concave to the origin. So it is round, a little bit of round. And we know the budget constraint will be straight line. And the straight line with the concave function will meet only one point, right? It is called hyperplane theorem, hyperplane separation theorem from the mathematics. Yeah, there will be some stories going on about that theory from my undergraduate life. I took the mathematical economics when I was the junior, and that professor was one of the professors that I most respect in my life. And he was really, really good in explanations about the hyperplane separation theorem by using his head and some laptop or some papers. I was pretty much shocked because his explanations, his way of explanations was really creative. Even he was more than 60 years old. So he was pretty old guy, but he was still trying to persuade students with the creative way of teaching. So I love that guy, and I got my recommendation letter from him. So I was admitted to my graduate school. So that's kind of story about this theorem. But anyway, so where is the equilibrium point? How about point D? Point D is not equilibrium because you have the better chance to consume more pizza and more burrito. Any interior point inside your opportunity set is not the optimal point. You should go to frontier, like A, C, or E, right? How about point A or C? A or C meets budget constraint at the frontier line of opportunity set, but by the properties of indifference curves, A or C will give you the same happiness with the point of D, which is not optimal. So A and C are not optimal anymore. How about F? F is not feasible or not feasible or not affordable, which means that it does not meet the opportunity set. So F is out of opportunity set, so it cannot be our optimal choice set. So A, C, D, or F are not optimal or it is not feasible. Only E is our optimal choice set because it is located on the line of budget constraint. So it is maximal point of combination of your budget between burrito and pizza. And also I2 indifference curve is better than I1. It is not good enough like I3, but we know I3 is not feasible. So I2 is our best choice for consumption, both burrito and pizza. If there is weird shape of indifference curve, our assumptions will be violated. If our indifference curve is inverted, like the graph A, then point D, many guys think the point D is the optimal choice set, but it is wrong. The point E is the optimal choice set because I2 is better than I1. So E is kind of the corner solution. So you can only consume burrito and you cannot consume pizza for your better choice set. So it is one of the extreme case. How about graph B? The indifference curve shapes are pretty much weird and it is pretty much awkward. So point D is not optimal, even if they meet on the line of the budget line, because I2 is better than I1. So point E will be the optimal rather than point D. Right, so I think this is the last page of this chapter. Okay, so in the next chapter, we're gonna do a little bit of detail if we have to practice problem, or we can just jump to the other part of the market. So we are done in consumer, but we are not going to, sorry, we are done in the consumer choices. So this is time to go for the producer side. So we can study about that in the later chapter. Thanks.